Do you want to play 23 years and only win 4 championships? Like, the longer you play, we talked about this, the worse it looks. Because there ain't nothing special about 4 championships in 23. I don't care how many times you went. 4 championships in 23 years is not that impressive. So I think he's made a big mistake. It doesn't sound like he's really trying to win to me, because I would be working closely with the Lakers. What do you need from me in order for us to get another piece?
Rob Parker didn't just criticize LeBron James. He basically ripped the mask off the whole operation. And whether you love LeBron, hate LeBron, or sit somewhere in the middle pretending to be objective, what Rob said hit a nerve because it forced people to confront a question they've been dodging for years. What exactly is LeBron James playing for at this stage of his career? Because when you strip away the highlights, the legacy talk, and the social media narratives, the decisions don't line up with the words anymore.
LeBron makes no sense. None of it makes sense. Kelvin, when you're going to be 41 and you've played 20 years in the NBA, there's only one reason you're playing, right? To try to win a championship.
Do you think LeBron is still playing to win championships? Or is he playing to protect his money, stats, and legacy at this point in his career? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear both sides.
Last year, you got Luka. Everybody ran to the mat for you. Oh, yeah, I don't see anybody out west that scares me. Luka and LeBron, I take them any day. And they got knocked out in the first round.
Rob Parker's main point was simple, but devastating. If you're about to be 41 years old, if you've played over 2 decades in the NBA, there is only one real reason to still be out there every night. Not to stat pad, not to chase milestones, not to collect checks, not to stay relevant. The reason is championships, period. And when Rob pointed out that 4 championships in 23 seasons doesn't hit the way people want it to hit, that's when people started squirming, because deep down, they know it's true.
But when it comes to LeBron and his unique situation, he's the one where the money, you're not playing all these years just to play out the string. So you need help. You need other players. It doesn't make sense to me at all why you would need to pick up all that money when you need other pieces, and you saw what happened last postseason.
The longer LeBron plays without winning, the worse the resume actually looks. That sounds crazy to say in a league obsessed with longevity, but context matters. 4 championships in 9 or 10 years is one thing. 4 championships in 23 years is another. Especially when you've had hand-picked teammates, player empowerment, roster control, front offices bending over backwards, and entire organizations rearranging themselves around you. At some point, the excuses dry up, and the results have to speak.
4 championships in 23 years is not that impressive. So I think he's made a big mistake. It doesn't sound like he's really trying to win to me, because I would be working closely with the Lakers. What do you need from me in order for us to get another piece? And you know what I mean? Yeah. And really trying to work to get this out. All the other players, no. Let them figure it out. But LeBron and his situation, his age, there's no way in the world he should just be taking the most money that's going to hinder the organization.
Rob Parker wasn't saying LeBron doesn't deserve money. That's where people try to twist the argument. He's been very clear for years that players should get every dollar they can. But LeBron is not every player. LeBron is in a unique situation that no one else in league history has ever been in. He's still elite, still influential, still a magnet for stars, and still the loudest voice in the room. So when he takes the maximum amount of money possible, knowing full well it limits what the Lakers can do, then turns around and complains about lack of help, it comes off as disingenuous.
I think he absolutely wants the money. I think he absolutely wants to still just be relevant, be around. I truly believe he wants to try to play with Bryce. Maybe not with the Lakers. Maybe it's with Cleveland, a ceremonial year with Cleveland. I think he wants Bryce in the NBA, which is very likely. Whether he's a second round, 60th pick, whatever, but I think it's likely. And I think he's like, hey, if a championship happens by happenstance, great. But this is what he does, and this is what the Lakers do. You put in some sweat equity with us. You be there for us. You want us a ring. We are indebted to you. This is what they've done. You and I've talked about. They keep the Rambuses around.
You can't scream, I want to win, with one side of your mouth, and pay me everything with the other, then act confused when the roster looks thin. Rob Parker called that out directly. If LeBron truly wanted another championship, the first phone call wouldn't be to Rich Paul about optics and leverage. It would be to the Lakers front office saying, "What do you need from me to make this team better? What sacrifice needs to be made so we can add another real piece?"
I'm dead serious. Like, to have 2 years where you, especially if you don't do anything with Luka, you think that looks good on his resume that you
It's a
had
bad
Luka,
look.
5-time first team All NBA, and you're not.
You could
seriously,
argue there's some couple years with AD that's like, all right, y'all should have
but they
maybe
couldn't
even
even
go to the finals. Maybe you don't win it, but you
or,
go.
or at least
again,
not, or at
another
least
time.
get in the playoffs without the play-in.
Yeah,
like
and he had some of those years with AD too, where you would be like, all right, I'm not saying y'all had to beat everybody,
But my
to
goodness,
lose in the first round or only get to the second round. Yeah, so I just think LeBron is trying at this point dictate everything.
And let's talk about Luka for a second, because that's where this gets ugly. You don't just stumble into a top 5 player in the league. You don't casually get a 5-time first-team All-NBA talent and then flame out in the first round. That's not a good run. That's not, "We'll get them next year." That's a failure. And history isn't going to be kind to that pairing if it goes nowhere. Years from now, people won't remember the excuses. They'll remember that LeBron James played alongside Luka and didn't do anything meaningful with it.
he's not. Kobe was a Laker. You know what I mean? From day one, and put in
disagree.
20 years. So they did that. They didn't make the playoffs his last 5 years, whatever. They gave him all the money. It was bad business.
Rob Parker made another uncomfortable point. At this stage, LeBron shouldn't need to be convinced to sacrifice. He's already rich. He's already global. He's already solidified financially in ways most athletes can't even imagine. So when he chooses to maximize salary instead of maximizing roster flexibility, it sends a clear message. Winning is optional. Money is not. And that's where the Tom Brady comparison comes in. Brady didn't take pay cuts because he was broke or because he didn't understand his value. He took pay cuts because he understood leverage. He understood that every dollar he didn't take could be turned into protection, weapons, and depth. That mindset helped create a dynasty. LeBron fans hate that comparison, but it keeps coming up because it exposes the difference in priorities. Now, some people will say, LeBron already took pay cuts in Miami. That's true. And Rob Parker pointed out something important there. That Miami era might have been the one time LeBron truly bought in fully. Everybody took a haircut. Everybody sacrificed. Everybody was aligned. And what happened? Championships. Since then, it's been different. Since then, it's been about leverage, control, and insulation from blame. When things go wrong, it's the front office. It's the coach. It's the supporting cast. It's the injuries. It's the West being tough. But when it comes time to make a move that could actually help the team, suddenly it's, I earned this money. Both things can be true, but they can't both be the priority. Rob Parker didn't stop there. He brought up something that Lakers fans don't like to talk about. The organization has bent over backwards for LeBron. They drafted his son. They traded away young talent. They made the Anthony Davis move. They even made the disastrous Russell Westbrook trade that set the franchise back years. Those weren't random decisions. Those were LeBron-influenced decisions. So when people say LeBron owes the Lakers nothing, that's not entirely accurate. This wasn't a normal superstar relationship. This was a partnership, and partnerships come with responsibility. And that's why the Kobe comparison keeps coming up, even though it's flawed. Kobe got paid at the end because his situation was different. He was a lifer. He gave the Lakers 2 decades. His final contract was more of a farewell tour than a championship chase. Everyone knew the Lakers weren't winning anything. With LeBron, that's not the case. He's still elite. He's still capable of winning with the right pieces. That makes the decision to take every dollar feel different. Rob Parker asked the question that nobody wants to answer. If LeBron can't catch Jordan even with 5 rings, then what is he really playing for? Because if championships don't change the GOAT debate for him, then the motivation shifts. And once that shifts, everything starts to make sense. The money, the longevity, the relevance, the milestones, the narrative control. It's not about rings anymore. It's about branding and legacy management. That's why the Bryce James angle matters. LeBron has openly talked about playing with his sons. That's history. That's headlines. That's relevance. And if a championship happens along the way, great. But it's no longer the primary objective. Rob Parker basically said what a lot of people have been thinking but were afraid to say. LeBron is playing for LeBron. And here's the part that really stings. You can't do that and still play the victim. You can't have Rich Paul leaking statements about needing help while simultaneously making it harder to get help. You can't complain about scraps when you're the reason the cupboard is bare. At some point, accountability has to show up. The Lakers aren't blameless. Rob Parker even said that. The Lakers do what the Lakers do. They protect their own. They reward loyalty. They make emotional decisions. They cling to familiar faces. That's part of their history. But LeBron knew that when he signed up. He's not some wide-eyed rookie getting fooled by the system. He's one of the most calculated athletes the league has ever seen. If this season looks anything like the last one, the conversation is only going to get louder. If the Lakers are fighting for play-in spots again, if they're bounced early again, if Luka and LeBron don't make a real run, then all the talk about longevity is going to flip. Instead of being impressive, it's going to start looking desperate. Rob Parker didn't say LeBron is washed. He didn't say he isn't great. He said the choices don't match the message. And that's a fair critique. Greatness isn't just about what you can do. It's about what you're willing to give up to do it. And right now, LeBron isn't giving anything up. The longer this goes on, the harder it gets to defend. You can only say wait till next year so many times. You can only blame the roster so many times. You can only lean on past championships for so long before people start asking what you're doing now. This is why Rob Parker's comments went viral. Not because they were outrageous, but because they were honest. They cut through the mythology and forced the conversation back to results, priorities, and accountability. And whether LeBron fans like it or not, this chapter of his career is going to define how the entire story ends. So the real question isn't whether LeBron deserves the money. He does. The real question is whether he wants a championship more than he wants everything else that comes with being LeBron James. Because right now, his actions are answering that question louder than any press release ever could. At the end of the day, this isn't about hate, disrespect, or denying LeBron James' greatness. It's about honesty. When you've reached the level LeBron has reached, every decision gets magnified. You don't get judged like everyone else, and that's the price of being in GOAT conversations. The money, the power, the influence, all of it comes with accountability. And right now, the gap between what LeBron says and what LeBron does is what people are reacting to. If this season ends with another early exit, the narrative won't be kind. History doesn't pause for context or excuses. It just records results. Playing 23 seasons is impressive, but longevity without championships starts to look less like dominance and more like survival. Especially when you're still surrounded by elite talent and still demanding to be viewed as the standard. At some point, the conversation shifts from, how great is this, to, what exactly was the goal? That's why Rob Parker's comments hit so hard. They force the uncomfortable question back into the spotlight. Is LeBron still chasing rings, or is he chasing relevance, records, and one last massive payday before walking away? Because you can't chase everything at once and expect people not to notice. The league is too competitive, the talent pool is too deep, and the margins are too thin for half measures. Now I want to hear from you. Do you agree with Rob Parker? Or do you think LeBron is being unfairly criticized for simply securing what he's earned? Drop your take in the comments, like the video if you enjoy real, unfiltered basketball conversations, and subscribe for more honest NBA breakdowns without the media spin.